Hey, heads up to this longer podcast. It's all about the magical number of steps to create change, to create success, to achieve what you want to achieve. And the whole point of this is there are no magical steps other than the ones. I'm not going to tell you what the answer is because you have to listen. And there's a lovely story that just shows how we got into this. Okay? Have a listen after this. Hey, this is the Personal Development Unplugged podcast where we use hypnosis. Yeah, hypnosis. NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Don't worry what it is. It's just a mass of processes that we're going to get you to change. Change to let go of anxiety, low self-esteem, and create massive supreme inner confidence. But that's confidence in your competence and competence in your confidence, which means you can do anything and be safe, to enjoy the world as it should be, with you at the helm, creating the life that you want. That's what this podcast is about. You and being the best you could be, singing from your real voice, aligned with your mission, aligned with your passions. That's what it's about. So if you're interested in letting go of anxiety, if you're interested in letting go of fear, guilt, all those blooming syndromes, imposter syndromes, and every little bit of the mind which is negative, then have a listen here because we've got some wonderful processes and lots of good conversations between you and me to get us both thinking in such wonderful ways. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Just take the chance to have a listen.
This is Personal Development Unplugged with Paul Clough.
In simplicity, there is genius.
In simplicity, there is genius.
Hey, how we doing? The magical numbers of steps. Steps to create change. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and I think I've told you before. I don't believe, well, I know there is a magical number of steps, but there's not a magical number that anyone can tell you. There isn't a formula of X amount of steps. We see it so many times, don't we, on YouTube and things like that, people professing to give you something in, do this one thing, take these 3 steps and you'll get whatever you want. And in some ways, yes, they've got, as long as they give you those particular steps and you can do it, yeah, absolutely awesome. But they're not magical. The magic is created elsewhere and comes from something elsewhere. And I'll explain where I think the magic comes from. Because I do believe in magical things happening. Not as in the unicorns and things, but I do believe when I see people in my hypnotherapy clinic, when they change, I believe that's a magical thing to be with. It's not magic. It's just a magical place to be. Now, this story, there's a story here. There is a story. I want to share with you a story because this is a long time ago when my younger son, Joseph Clough, funny enough, same surname, and myself, we were just starting to do, we'd done a number of NLP trainings. And I think we were getting to the point where we thought to ourselves, we need some help. We need to ramp this up. And to be fair, we were, I believe, good at doing the trainings, but we just didn't have the know-how. So what do? You get a coach. And we found this guy called Nick James. He's a lovely lad. He really is a lovely lad. And he was in the Midlands and we were down in Cambridge. And he came and saw us and talked to us and brought a few things really home to us. Not hard. They were hard hitting, okay, a little bit because of the things that we were doing or the things we were not doing and even the things that we knew and maybe should have been doing, but we just weren't there. And Nick came along and gave us some magical steps. Not a magical number, but gave us some magical steps. Now, what are those steps? Well, that's for later. You see, as I said, the 10 steps, 9, 8, 7, 6, that's all BS. Because I believe, truly believe, we can all create the change we want. And we can all create change. Now, some of it we do quite just by accident, and that could be a negative change or a positive change. Things can happen to us in our lives, and we choose to change as a reaction to that event. But what I'm trying to go with this episode is, how can you create something that you want to create? And you see, the thing is, I believe that you are more able, you're in a better position to create the change that you want. Now, why would you say that, Cluffy? I'm not blowing smoke up your... What's it? Why do I believe that? Because you're here. You're here on this, like, hero's adventure, hero's journey. You're seeking personal development and you're trying to do better for yourself. Now, when you have that intention, I think that's where the magic starts to get ignited. So you're here. So you are already on one of those steps. The steps I don't tell you about, setting intention. And the only magical steps, or the number of steps, which will definitely work, come from somewhere else. They don't come from me. They don't come from anybody else. There'll be guides, help you steer the bus. But the only steps that really work are the ones that you choose. Oh, bugger, Cluffy. I thought you were just going to give me what to do. No, I am. But you have to choose to do them and choose to make sure they work for you. And I'm not going to give you the steps, but I will give you a formula to create those steps. But the thing is, as I say, the magical steps are the ones that you choose. And if you choose wisely, my friend, then change happens. You get to that next level. You get those rich rewards, and then you move on even more. So maybe it's a project. For like Joseph and I, our project in effect was to find people to come on our training so we could share NLP, Master Practitioner, NLP, hypnosis, all those things, timeline therapy. But the thing is, when Nick came, he reminded us, remembered things we know. Because he would say, like, well, what do you want me to do? What do you want from me? And we would just say things like, well, we want more trainings. And he goes, what, 100 more? 200 more? 800 more? We go, no, that's silly. He said, a little slap in our face. He said, you're NLP trainers. Get specific. So what do you want from me? What's the specific goal that you're trying to achieve? And let's see if I can help you. So we said, well, our specific goal is, in 1 year, we want X amount of practitioners. We want X amount of master practitioner trainings. And maybe a masterclass or two. So we go, that's better. That's better. Still didn't give us any steps. He said, now I've got an idea. But well, first of all, just saying, even when you get specific, will that work in a year? So you really have to make a timeline. And Nick took us through a timeline, because the timeline wasn't just, well, I want a practitioner in, say, March, and then another one in June and another one in October. We had to put those dates down. We had to forecast when we felt it would be a good time to do it for people outside holidays and things like that. Put those times down. But then you'd go, how many weeks does the pre-study take? Oh, well, that's about 5-6 weeks. Okay. So before the date, you have to come back 5 or 6 weeks. That's the time they've got to sign on. Yeah, that's right. Well, before that, you've got to interest them. You've got to do this. And he took us through, we did videos, you see. He took us through a lovely step-by-step. So let's think of a video just to show yourselves who you are. And let's get an example of what people might learn. Let's go through that. And each video had to be timed with an audience, because it was like a release. And then we had to review what we'd done. And he basically came back to it and said, you have to look while you have, we're going to generate these steps. You're going to have to look every day, says Nick, that what you do today, is it moving you towards your target? If it's X amount of money that will be generated from this, you have to look at every day being 300 and odd pieces of that annual income. And every day has to be accountable. So you have to be doing something towards it in accordance with this plan. So he said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We've got some dates. They're going to work. We've got a series of videos. Let's put them on the timeline. And we were looking at them and go, well, is that all going to fit in? Because he had some other ideas. And we said, actually, that's not us. And the really nice thing was he said, well, that's what I'm telling you. But I see you're genuine. And I want to, we'll change. We'll massage it, because it had to be something that we could totally buy in. We didn't just want to sell. That's why we needed help, because we couldn't sell. We were like, he said, you seem to be embarrassed about selling the things you're sharing. He said, well, it's just, we're not that. He said, well, you've got to get over that bit. But let's get these videos going. Once you start working towards the date. So what we did was we had a timeline. Basically, you work back from the last step of the goal. And then you work back to the next step, the step just before that step. So which step has to happen before the next step can happen? Because you might find when you do that, there's not sufficient time to do those steps, and you have to reassess your timeline. Or you have to realize you're going to have to really buckle down in a few cases, because you're going to have fudge time as well. But each time was, what has to happen to allow the next step to happen? And by doing that, you work all the way to the very first step. Now you've got a plan. Now there are more than probably 5 or 6 steps. There's a lot of steps, because each day, each week, there's a step. And there may be multiple steps in those weeks. But you've worked them out. You've set a time limit to them, or an idea of what time it's going to take you, so you know you can do it. But each step had to be linked to the feeling of that wish fulfilled, the feeling of having achieved that goal. For us, we would see ourselves in front of a lovely group of practitioners who were really succeeding in the work, and we were enjoying sharing NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis. And we were making a difference, they were making a difference. And we saw that, and that was the feeling we took back into each step. And if one of those steps didn't have that feeling, it was like the step was too big. So you had to make this, well, maybe if that step's too big, what's in the middle between the two? And we just worked it out on paper. And that was our goal, our guide, as it were. It was our program. Everything had to have the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And they're the magical number of steps. As I said, they're the ones that you choose. You choose for the things that you want, and you break them down. And I do suggest, like, ours was very simple in the way that we just wanted so many trainings in a particular year. But we didn't realize, like, when you model people, don't realize how many things go through someone's mind to do a small process. We didn't realize how many steps we really had to do to get this right, to put out videos, to put out newsletters, to speak to people, to arrange venues. All this stuff had to be done. There was only the two of us, so we had to really get it finite and work together. I'm going to tell you what the result is shortly. But the thing is, what we also employed so many different things that we did know, things like the 5 keys to success. Now, I've talked about that so many times, and I actually did a real longer podcast. That was #356. The 5 keys to success. And they're not steps, by the way. They're not 5 steps to success. They're 5 keys to success. So have a listen to that one. But it all starts off with knowing your outcome. So you may not have to have a goal like us. Yours could be in just the personal development. But as I've talked before, your personal development, being the best version of yourself, is divided up into different elements, different roles, different hats, different I call them wheels and spokes, as I've said before. And you pick the important one and then put a timeline to it from the end to the step before, to the step before. And if I was doing something like health, I'd have my ultimate health as the big picture. But I wouldn't be able to do a timeline for my ultimate health because that's never ending, isn't it? It's infinite. But it could be, well, this is how much I weigh and I want to take off X amount of pounds. Not the whole difference I want to reduce my weight by or how increase my fitness. It would be a step. And this is a step I can do in a month. Now, what are the steps in that month that I have to take to achieve that goal? Because I just see each goal being part of another goal. And that is being part of another goal. And doing it this way just works. It also becomes a habit. Just thinking of things. What are we going to do? Well, what do we really want? How are we going to get there? When are we going to start? How is it going to... Boom. And then we hold ourselves accountable. So do look at that longer podcast. There's also a hypnosis track with it. That's brilliant. Where'd you get them from? What is it? It's Paul Clough Online. I never always forget. paulcloughonline.com/podcast. And you get the hypnosis version of it as well. All these things come together. But what happened? Let's go back. I'm going to recap on this a little bit, but I just want to finish off this. It was an epic, magical time for Joseph and I. And Nick will be eternally grateful for him. For him? Yeah, well, by him, whatever. We're grateful that we met Nick and he could help guide us. What happened? Well, we set out this timeline. It was difficult. We had to put our effort in. And we worked hard. And we set up what we thought was sort of something impossible. It was a weekend. It was a weekend introductory. Just a weekend seminar we were going to do, of which one and only one portion was going to be an upsell of our trainings. And that's a bit that Nick had a bit of trouble with because he said, I get what you're doing, boys, but we really got to hit what you want. And we would go, well, we want to share more first to show the people who and what we do and how we are as people, because we're going to be training with them. And he bought into that. So I was really pleased that he was able to adapt his way of working to make sure our way of working worked with him. That really worked. So we set up this weekend. We hired this bloody great big room. We arranged for people to have sandwiches at lunchtime, which no one did. No one did it those days. This was all included in the price. It was a weekend training. And it was under $50 for the whole weekend. And it was a good training. It was a really good training. A training that since then the cost to enter was a lot more, but we put it on for under $50 per person. And we were thinking, if this doesn't work, we are going to really come a cropper. That's an English term, come a cropper, which means we're going to lose money. We're going to lose all that time that we've put into it, because you've got to think all that time and all the goals that we had in mind for the future of our NLP trainings. And what happened? It was a sellout. We filled this bloody great big room. It was amazing. And because people had paid a little bit, they wanted to be there. But they also wanted quality, and we gave them quality. We enjoyed ourselves. We gave them really good quality. And we just, in a short term, in a little bit in the afternoon, on the last afternoon, told people about our NLP trainings. If they'd like to come and join us, there would be no hands up at the back of the room, this type of thing. You've got a thinking time, but come and talk to us. What was the result of that? So we had the success of the weekend. But the real success is we filled a whole year of trainings with really nice people. And our reputation grew. And I put it all down to getting this magical number of steps, getting someone to guide us. Because the right person, we didn't know Nick before, but the right person comes along to guide you when you need it. And he did. It was really good of him. And we had fun. and we've never really looked back. And that's what you can do. We did look back. We looked back to learn from our successes. Could we make it better and things like that? The general reviews that you would do. But we had a formula for everything now that just seems to work. And that's what I wanted to share with you. So it's not the magical number of steps, but each step is magical. If you do it with intention in every step, and remembering what the feeling of the wish fulfilled is, and remembering, having worked out your timeline, what this step is leading to. So that's a mini goal, isn't it? So you've got lots of mini goals, little milestones, I guess you'd call it in business terms, but lots of mini goals, little milestones. And each one creates success in its own right, which makes you feel good, makes you feel more confident, makes you know that you're doing the right thing. Overwhelm disappears. Fear disappears. Anxiety disappears. The old imposter syndrome is there a little bit if you're doing that type of thing. But really in your heart, you know, F it. I've got this. I get to do this. It's that wonderful feeling that you are driving your bus because you know where you're going, and it's not overwhelming because you've now broke it into magical steps, and each step being so magical. You even sit in the middle and sit down for a spell and think about it because I do love magic and spells. So I hope that has given you a little bit of, impetus, maybe more confidence to take on something like this. It doesn't matter what it is. Just break it down into lovely little steps, and even big goals into little milestones, and then steps within milestones. Because as long as you're doing one thing with intention, following those 5 keys to success, you'll have rich rewards and richness in not just monetary terms, because that might not be part of the goal, but you will have a rich success, which I know just spills out into other areas of your life. As we said before, when you have you get a success in one area of your life and you feel confident, more competent, as it were, in yourself, confident in yourself, that spreads to other areas of your life. Even your personal, if it's a business thing, your personal life changes because you're now a different person, getting closer and closer to being the real you and showing it. Isn't that lovely? I hope that makes sense. I hope I've inspired you to do something. If there's a particular goal that you'd like, maybe we could do an episode on the steps of a particular goal. Please get in touch with me. Email me feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. I'm the only bugger here, the only one who reads it. Everything will be anonymous and you'll always get a reply from me. And it will be from me. So please do that if there's anything. And even if you think, well, hang on, this resonates with me, but there's something different. Let me know what that is. And let's keep everything diverse, so wonderfully rich in all manner of things. That would be awesome. And have you noticed, I haven't said awesome for a long time. Try to cut it out of my life. I was saying awesome in every other word. But now it's magical. Anyway, there you go. Please do share this episode with and hopefully inspire. You can inspire other people by actually doing the work, but also talking about the process. Because that, in that way, when you talk about it, you get to learn it in more detail, or you learn maybe where the gaps are. And then you can fill in the gaps to make sure that you have that rich success. There you go. So please share. And as usual, if you're looking at the device you're listening to this on and you haven't subscribed, just have a look. There's always a button that says subscribe, follow, or whatever. If you do that, that would be great, because that just makes this tiny little podcast just a little bit bigger, reached not a bigger audience, but to help more people. And that's what we're here for. So there you go. Hopefully my wanderings and meanderings have made some sense. And I'm going to wander and meander off because it's time to fly. Thank you so much for your time. So much appreciated. And I love this sharing. So have more fun than you can stand, as usual. Not my words. I don't know where I got them from, but that is have more fun than you can stand. Have more happiness than you can stand. And fly. Bye-bye now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.